Chosen one, the ground beneath your finances is shifting, and this is the moment the cycle breaks in your favor. Not next year, not someday, now. There's a reason this message found you at this exact time. Not when you were casually scrolling without care, not when money felt easy or irrelevant, but now, when something inside you has been quietly restless, when you've been thinking about stability, freedom, overflow, when you felt that mix of hope and frustration that's hard to explain to anyone else. This isn't random. And before we go any deeper, I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video. Don't click away halfway. Don't tell yourself you'll come back later. There's something layered here, something that unfolds step by step. And if you leave too soon, you'll miss the part that was meant to unlock something in you. And when you feel that shift in your spirit, I want you to write your warmest wishes in the comments and seal them with Amen. Just once, from the heart. This is a chapter about wishes coming true and energizing the universe, about aligning your voice with what you're ready to receive. But after that moment, we move forward. Because this message isn't about dreaming alone, it's about shifting. Your money shift doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your nervous system. That might not be what you expected to hear. You thought this would be about strategy, investments, hustle, and yes, those things matter. But they're not the root. The root is how safe you feel receiving more. Be honest with yourself for a second. When you imagine having real financial overflow, more than enough, steady income, opportunities flowing toward you, does your body relax or tense up? A lot of people say they want wealth, but their system is wired for survival, wired for just enough, wired for struggle being normal. And when struggle feels normal, abundance feels suspicious. You've been conditioned in ways you don't even realize. Maybe you grew up hearing that money is hard to earn, that rich people are greedy, that you have to exhaust yourself to deserve comfort. Maybe you watched stress around bills become a monthly ritual. Maybe you absorbed anxiety like it was oxygen, and you internalized it. So even as you say you're ready for more, a part of you still expects lack. That's not weakness, that's programming. But programming can be rewritten. This is where your shift begins, not in chasing money, but in calming the fear around it. Because fear makes you grip. It makes you cling to what you have. It makes you undercharge. It makes you stay in spaces that drain you because at least it's stable. Fear makes you think small in the name of safety. And small has been your comfort zone. Even when you knew you were capable of more. There were moments, quiet ones, where you felt it. That you're not meant to live paycheck to paycheck forever. That you're not meant to constantly worry about numbers. That there's a bigger capacity inside you. But then reality would hit. A bill, a rejection, a setback. And that voice would shrink again. I want you to understand something clearly. Setbacks are not proof that abundance isn't for you. They are proof that your foundation is being tested. Money is energy, not in a cliché way, in a practical way. It flows toward clarity, toward value, toward confidence. It avoids chaos. It avoids indecision. It avoids self-doubt. Look at your own patterns. Have there been times you hesitated to pursue something profitable because you doubted yourself? Times you didn't negotiate because you didn't want to seem difficult? Times you delayed starting something because you wanted it to be perfect first? That hesitation costs more than you realize, not just financially, energetically. Your money shift begins the moment you decide you are allowed to take up space in rooms where money circulates. And that decision is internal. It's the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. There's nothing unspiritual about wanting financial stability. There's nothing shallow about desiring overflow. Security allows generosity. Stability allows creativity. When you're not constantly worried about survival, you think bigger. You move differently. You've spent enough time proving you can endure lack. Now it's time to prove you can handle overflow. And handling overflow requires a different mindset. It requires discipline without self-punishment, vision without delusion, action without desperation. Desperation repels, confidence attracts. When you operate from desperation, every financial decision feels urgent. Every opportunity feels like, this has to work. And that pressure distorts your judgment. You say yes too fast. You ignore red flags. You chase instead of choose. But when you operate from grounded confidence, you evaluate. You consider. You move strategically. You understand that money responds to clarity. Clarity about your value. Let's talk about that for a moment. You've undervalued yourself before. In work, in business, in creative pursuits, maybe even in the way you talk about your skills. You downplay. You say, it's nothing. You hesitate to state your price. You compare yourself to people who seem further ahead. Comparison is expensive. It drains your focus from your own lane. It makes you forget your unique combination of experiences, skills, perspective. There is no one who sees the world exactly like you do. That perspective has value. But value must be claimed before it can be compensated. Your money shift starts when you stop waiting for external validation to confirm your worth. You confirm it first. That doesn't mean arrogance. It means ownership. Ownership of your time. Ownership of your expertise. Ownership of your ambition. Ambition isn't greed. It's expansion trying to express itself. You feel it when you imagine a life with more options, more freedom, the ability to say no without panic, the ability to invest, to build, to rest without guilt. That vision isn't random. It's information. It's showing you what's possible. But possibility requires participation. You can't just think differently and expect everything to change overnight. You have to act differently too. And that's where resistance shows up. Because action feels risky. You might have to outgrow environments where struggle is normalized. You might have to disappoint people who are comfortable with your smallness. You might have to learn skills you once avoided. Growth asks for courage. And courage, especially around money, can feel terrifying. Because money touches everything. Lifestyle, identity, relationships, status. When your income shifts, your world shifts. And not everyone around you will understand. Some people are comfortable bonding over struggle, over complaining, over surviving. When you start elevating, it disrupts that bond. Be prepared for that. Your shift might be quiet at first. You won't announce it. You'll just start thinking differently, budgeting differently, investing differently, speaking differently about your goals, and slowly, your decisions will compound. Compounding is powerful, not just in finance, but in identity. Small, disciplined choices, repeated consistently, become massive transformation. You don't need a lottery moment. You need alignment, sustained over time. Alignment between what you say you want and what you actually tolerate. If you say you want financial freedom but continue overspending to impress people who don't fund your future, there's misalignment. If you say you want abundance but refuse to learn about money management, there's misalignment. If you say you're ready for more but avoid responsibility, there's misalignment. This isn't judgment, it's awareness. Awareness creates leverage, and leverage creates movement. Chosen one, your money shift starts now because your awareness is sharper than it's ever been. You're not blindly hoping anymore. You're observing patterns. You're noticing habits. You're seeing where fear has been steering you. And you're ready to take the wheel back. It won't happen in a dramatic explosion. It will happen in quiet decisions. The decision to save even when you want to splurge. The decision to invest in learning. The decision to charge fairly. The decision to leave environments that cap your growth. The decision to believe that you can create stability instead of waiting for it. Belief isn't naive when it's backed by action. It becomes momentum. And momentum, once built, is hard to stop. You might not see immediate results. That's normal. Early stages of growth are invisible, like roots forming underground before a tree breaks the surface. If you dig up the seed every day to check its progress, you interrupt the process. Trust the underground work. Trust the recalibration happening in your mind. Trust the discipline forming in your habits. This is the beginning of a new relationship with money. Not one based on fear. Not one based on shame. Not one based on proving yourself. A relationship based on respect. Respect for what money can do. Respect for the effort required to earn it. Respect for the responsibility of managing it. When you respect money, you don't idolize it. You steward it. You direct it with intention. And intention multiplies impact. There will be moments of doubt, days when progress feels slow. That's part of the journey. But you're not the same person you were last year. Your awareness is deeper. Your standards are higher. Your tolerance for chaos is lower. That alone changes your financial trajectory. Because standards determine outcomes, and you've raised yours. Chosen one, this is not about chasing wealth to feel worthy. It's about recognizing you were worthy of stability all along. Your money shift starts now, not because luck suddenly chose you, but because you finally chose yourself. And that choice, it changes everything. Chosen one. This part isn't about the numbers in your account. It's about the identity behind those numbers. Because money doesn't just respond to effort. It responds to who you believe you are. Read that slowly in your mind. Who you believe you are. There's an invisible ceiling most people never question. An internal limit. A quiet line that says, this is the level of income that feels normal for someone like me. And even if opportunities try to push you higher, you unconsciously self-correct back to that level. Not because you're incapable, but because it feels familiar. Familiar feels safe, even when it's small. You've had moments where more money came in, a bonus, a good month, an unexpected opportunity, and for a second, it felt exciting, expansive, but then something strange happened. Expenses increased, impulse spending showed up, motivation dipped, or you sabotaged the next opportunity without realizing it. That's not coincidence. That's identity conflict. If you still see yourself as someone who barely gets by, your behavior will defend that story. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, you will unconsciously create struggle to stay consistent with that belief. Your money shift isn't just financial, it's psychological. It's you asking yourself, honestly, am I ready to see myself as someone who handles wealth well? Not fantasizes about it, handles it. Handling wealth means structure, discipline, emotional regulation. It means not panicking when you earn more. It means not feeling guilty when you succeed. It means not shrinking so others stay comfortable. And guilt, that's a big one. Somewhere along the way, you might have learned that having more than others makes you selfish, that wanting financial comfort means you're materialistic, that ambition is dangerous, but that belief keeps you small. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're generous now, you'll be generous with more. If you're responsible now, you'll be responsible with more. Wealth doesn't corrupt character, it reveals it. So the real question isn't, can I get more money? It's, am I willing to become the version of myself who sustains it? Sustaining requires maturity. It requires delayed gratification. It requires saying no to short-term pleasure for long-term stability. That's not glamorous, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. You don't need to look rich. You need to build rich. And building is quiet. Building is saying no when others are saying yes. Building is investing when others are consuming. Building is learning when others are scrolling. It's not about being extreme. It's about being intentional. And intention starts with identity. Start seeing yourself as a builder, not just a dreamer, not just a survivor, a builder. Builders think long-term. They don't just ask, what do I want today? They ask, what do I want 5 years from now? And then they make decisions that support that version. You've probably underestimated how powerful consistency can be. You might have looked at wealthy people and assumed they had secret advantages. And yes, sometimes they did, but more often than not, what they had was consistency in habits most people find boring. Budgeting, tracking, learning, planning, reinvesting. Boring becomes beautiful when you see the results compound. Your money shift requires you to fall in love with structure, not rigid structure that suffocates you. Supportive structure that protects you. Think about how different your life feels when you know your bills are covered, when savings are growing, when debt is shrinking. That feeling isn't flashy, it's calm. Calm is underrated. Calm is wealth in emotional form. And emotional wealth is what allows financial wealth to stay. Because if your emotions are unstable, your money will be too. Emotional spending, fear-based investing, impulsive decisions. They all come from inner chaos. So this stage of your shift is about emotional regulation around money. Notice how you feel when you check your account. Do you avoid it? Do you tense up? Do you judge yourself? Avoidance keeps you stuck. Awareness moves you forward. Start looking at your numbers without shame. They're not a reflection of your worth. They're information, data, a starting point. And starting points are powerful because they're honest. You can't shift what you refuse to face. Once you face it, something interesting happens. Fear decreases, clarity increases, and with clarity, options appear. Options create freedom. Freedom changes posture. You stand differently when you know you have options. That's what you're building toward, not just money. Options. The option to leave a toxic job. The option to rest without panic. The option to invest in your growth. The option to help others without harming yourself. Options are dignity, and dignity is priceless. But dignity is built through discipline. Let's talk about discipline in a real way. Not the harsh, punishing kind, the respectful kind, the kind where you keep promises to yourself. If you say you'll save a certain amount, you do it. If you say you'll study a skill, you show up. Not perfectly, but consistently. Consistency builds self-trust, and self-trust builds confidence. When you trust yourself with small financial decisions, you start trusting yourself with bigger ones. That trust radiates. Opportunities respond to it. People sense it. There's a grounded energy to someone who knows how to manage what they have. They're not desperate. They're not reckless. They're steady. Steady attracts stability. Chosen one, you're moving from chaotic earning to conscious earning. That means questioning how you make money too. Does it align with who you are? Does it drain you completely? Does it offer growth? Or are you clinging to it out of fear? Sometimes the shift isn't about making more immediately. It's about positioning yourself differently, learning new skills, networking intentionally, building something on the side, planting seeds while still honoring current responsibilities. This isn't about reckless leaps. It's about strategic movement. Strategy requires patience. Patience requires belief. Belief requires evidence. So start collecting evidence of your capability. Track your progress. Celebrate small wins. Notice when you make smarter choices than you did last year. Growth becomes real when you acknowledge it. And here's something deeper. Stop speaking lack over your life. Not in a fake positive way, in an aware way. If you constantly say, "I'm broke," your mind accepts that identity. Try shifting to, "I'm building." That small language change shifts internal posture. You're not behind, you're building. You're not unlucky, you're learning. Language shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. This is the inner architecture of your money shift. It's not flashy, it's foundational. And foundation determines how high you can build without collapse. There's also courage involved in this phase. The courage to admit when you need guidance, to seek financial education, to ask questions without ego. Pride keeps people poor, not just financially but mentally. Humility opens doors. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be willing to learn. Learning multiplies income over time. And over time is the key phrase. This is not about overnight transformation, it's about permanent elevation. Permanent elevation happens slowly enough to be sustainable. You are rewiring your relationship with money at the identity level. That takes repetition. That takes awareness. That takes compassion for yourself when you slip. Because you will slip sometimes. You'll overspend 1 month. You'll procrastinate. You'll doubt yourself. That doesn't erase the shift. It just reminds you you're human. What matters is that you return to alignment faster each time. Faster recovery is growth. Chosen one, your money shift started the moment you decided you no longer want to be ruled by survival patterns. And now, in this stage, you are shaping a new identity. Not someone who hopes for wealth, someone who is prepared for it. Prepared people recognize opportunities others overlook. Prepared people don't panic under pressure. Prepared people sustain what they build. You are becoming prepared, quietly, intentionally, step by step. And that internal shift, it's already changing your financial future, even if the numbers haven't caught up yet. Chosen one, this next layer of your money shift isn't about identity alone, it's about courage in motion. Because at some point, clarity becomes a decision. You can read, you can plan, you can reframe your beliefs, but eventually, there's a moment where you have to act in a way your old self would have avoided. And that moment feels uncomfortable. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind tries to negotiate you back into safety. That's the threshold. Most people reach that threshold and step back. You're not going to. This phase is about risk, but not reckless risk. Calculated expansion. The kind where you've done the internal work, you've stabilized your thinking, and now life is asking, do you trust yourself enough to move? Maybe it's asking you to apply for something you feel slightly underqualified for. Maybe it's asking you to raise your prices. Maybe it's asking you to finally start that project you've been mentally rehearsing for months or years. The old version of you would have waited for perfect timing. The new version understands that timing responds to movement. You don't need full certainty. You need enough belief to take the first step. Money respects boldness that's grounded. When you show up differently, opportunities recalibrate around you. It's subtle at first. A conversation shifts. A door opens. Someone takes you more seriously because you're taking yourself seriously. Energy is contagious. If you treat your work like it's valuable, others start to feel that too. If you hesitate every time you speak about your goals, people sense doubt. If you carry quiet conviction, people sense stability. This isn't about pretending to be confident. It's about practicing it until it becomes natural. Courage builds confidence, not the other way around. And courage is often small. It's sending the email. It's asking the question. It's negotiating instead of automatically accepting. It's saying, this is my rate, without over-explaining. You might feel shaky the first few times. That's normal. Growth stretches you. But every time you act in alignment with your higher standard, you reinforce your new financial identity. Action seals belief. There's also something deeper happening here. You're redefining your relationship with failure. Before, failure felt like proof that you weren't meant for more. Now, it's feedback, data, directional correction. That shift alone can change your entire trajectory. Because if you're not afraid of failing, you'll try more. If you try more, you'll learn faster. If you learn faster, you'll adjust smarter. And smarter moves lead to bigger results over time. You don't need every move to succeed. You need momentum. Momentum builds from consistent action, not perfect outcomes. You might face rejection in this season. You might hear no. You might attempt something that doesn't immediately work. But here's what's different now. You won't collapse into self-doubt the way you used to. You'll recalibrate. You'll ask, what can I refine? And you'll move again. That resilience is financial maturity in action. Chosen one, wealth isn't just built through ideas. It's built through iteration. Trying, adjusting, trying again. Each attempt strengthens your capacity, and capacity determines how much you can hold. There's another layer here too, visibility. As your money shift progresses, you can't hide the way you used to. Not if you want expansion. You have to be seen. Whether that's promoting your work, sharing your ideas, networking, or simply stepping into rooms you once felt intimidated by. Visibility can feel vulnerable. It exposes you to judgment, to comparison, to critique, but it also exposes you to opportunity. You can't be compensated for gifts no one knows exist. So this phase requires you to step forward without waiting for universal approval. Not everyone will understand your ambition. Not everyone will clap. Some might even project their own limitations onto you. But their ceiling is not your destiny. Remember that. Your growth might challenge the narrative they've built about what's possible. That's not your burden to carry. You're not obligated to shrink to preserve someone else's comfort. You're expanding because you're capable, and capability deserves expression. As you take action, something inside you will strengthen. A quiet inner voice that says, "See, you can handle this." That voice gets louder every time you prove yourself right. You don't need massive leaps to validate your shift. Small, brave moves compound. Send the proposal, launch the offer, apply for the position, invest in the skill, say yes to the room that intimidates you just enough to signal growth. Each of these actions rewires your self-concept, and your self-concept shapes your financial ceiling. There's also a deeper discipline forming in this stage, the discipline to endure temporary discomfort for long-term gain. When you're building something bigger, there will be moments where results are slow, where effort feels heavy, where doubt whispers again. That's where commitment matters. Commitment isn't emotional. It's deliberate. It's showing up even when motivation dips. It's remembering why you started. It's choosing long-term vision over short-term mood. And mood will fluctuate, but vision anchors you. Chosen one, you are stepping into the arena now, not watching from the sidelines, not planning endlessly, acting. And action transforms potential into reality. You won't recognize yourself 6 months from now if you stay consistent. Not because you'll become someone else, but because you'll finally see what you're capable of when fear doesn't lead. This is the phase where your external life begins to reflect your internal shift. Conversations change, income opportunities shift, your confidence deepens, not overnight, but undeniably. And when you look back, you'll realize this was the turning point. The moment you stopped waiting for permission. The moment you stopped asking if you were ready. The moment you decided that readiness grows through action. Chosen one, your money shift started internally. Now it's moving outward. And every bold, grounded decision you make from here forward is evidence that you are no longer living in survival mode. You are building. You are expanding. You are claiming space in rooms that once felt out of reach. And the more you move with courage, the more natural abundance begins to feel. Not distant, not unrealistic, but aligned. Chosen one. This is where it becomes real. Not in theory, not in motivation, not in a burst of inspiration that fades by next week. Real in your habits, real in your posture, real in the way you carry yourself when money is mentioned, real in the way you make decisions when no one is watching. Because a money shift isn't proven by what you say. It's proven by what you repeat. By now, you've looked at your identity. You've faced your fear. You've taken action. You've stepped into courage. And this final layer, it's about stewardship. Not just getting money, keeping it, growing it, directing it with wisdom. There's a maturity in that word, stewardship. It means you no longer see money as something that controls you. You see it as something you manage, something you guide, something you assign purpose to. That shift changes everything. Before, money may have felt like something that came and went unpredictably. A wave you were trying to ride without falling off. Sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes stressful, sometimes relieving. Now, you're learning to build systems. Systems don't depend on emotion. They depend on structure. A budget is a system. An investment plan is a system. Automatic savings are a system. Multiple streams of income are systems. Systems create stability, and stability creates peace. Peace creates clarity. Clarity attracts opportunity. It all connects. You're no longer reacting to money, you're anticipating, planning, forecasting, thinking ahead. That's a different frequency. You don't spend first and think later. You think first. You don't ignore debt and hope it disappears. You face it, strategize, chip away at it with consistency. You don't treat extra income like a celebration excuse. You treat it like leverage. Leverage builds wealth. And wealth, real wealth, is not about flashing numbers. It's about security. It's about knowing that if life shifts unexpectedly, you're not immediately in crisis. It's about having room to breathe. That breathing room is powerful. You've probably lived without it before. You know what it feels like to check your account with anxiety, to calculate purchases in your head before swiping your card, to feel tension around due dates. You don't want to live there forever, and you don't have to. But freedom requires foresight. This stage of your shift asks you to zoom out. What does your life look like 10 years from now if you continue your current habits? Don't judge the answer. Just observe it. Now ask yourself, what changes would create a different trajectory? That's where power lives. Not in wishing, in adjusting. Even small adjustments matter. Saving an extra percentage. Learning about assets instead of liabilities. Understanding how interest works for you instead of against you. Tracking where your money actually goes. These aren't glamorous actions, but they are transformative. The difference between people who stay financially stressed and people who build stability often isn't intelligence. It's consistency. Consistency in boring, responsible decisions. Consistency in long-term thinking. Consistency in self-control. And self-control isn't restriction, it's direction. You're directing your resources toward a future version of yourself that deserves peace. Think about that version of you. Calmer, more secure, less reactive, more generous. That version is built through today's discipline. There's also something deeper happening here, your relationship with enough. For some people, no amount ever feels like enough. They earn more, and their lifestyle inflates immediately. They chase a moving target of satisfaction. You're learning to define enough intentionally, enough savings, enough investment, enough lifestyle, enough generosity. When you define enough, you gain control, because you're no longer endlessly chasing. You're building toward clarity, and clarity stabilizes desire. You can still aim high, you can still expand, but it won't be driven by emptiness. It will be driven by vision. There's a quiet confidence in someone who knows their numbers, who knows their goals, who knows their plan. They don't panic at market shifts. They don't collapse at unexpected expenses. They adjust. That's resilience in financial form. Chosen one, this final phase is about legacy, not in an abstract way, in a tangible way. What are you building that lasts beyond temporary income? Are you building skills that increase in value? Are you building investments that compound? Are you building habits that teach the next generation stability? Legacy isn't always millions. Sometimes it's breaking the cycle of financial chaos in your family. Sometimes it's being the first to build savings, the first to invest, the first to think beyond survival. That matters more than you realize. Your shift may not just change your life, it may change the trajectory of people connected to you. But that responsibility doesn't need to feel heavy. It can feel empowering. Because you're no longer drifting, you're steering. You understand now that money amplifies intention. If your intention is clarity, it amplifies clarity. If your intention is impact, it amplifies impact. If your intention is freedom, it amplifies freedom. So guard your intention. Stay aligned. Keep learning. Keep refining. You won't do everything perfectly. You'll still have months that challenge you. Unexpected costs, moments of doubt, That's life. But the difference now is that you won't abandon your discipline the first time something shakes. You'll recalibrate, you'll review your plan, you'll adjust, and you'll keep building. Because this isn't a phase anymore. It's a lifestyle. Chosen one, your money shift started as a thought. Then it became awareness. Then it became action. Now it is becoming identity. You are someone who respects money, someone who plans, someone who builds, someone who thinks long-term, someone who understands that abundance is sustained through wisdom. This is not about sudden riches falling from the sky. It's about steady elevation that cannot easily collapse. And steady elevation is powerful. It's quiet. It's disciplined. It's intentional. From here forward, every decision you make around money either reinforces your old patterns or strengthens your new standard. Choose consciously. Choose patiently. Choose with the future in mind. You are not chasing wealth to feel valuable. You are building wealth because you value stability. That's different. That's grounded. That's sustainable. Chosen one, your money shift starts now. Not because something magical happened overnight, but because you did. You shifted. And when you shift internally with clarity, discipline, and courage, the external world eventually has no choice but to respond. Stay steady, stay intentional. Keep building. Your future self is already grateful.